I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 31st, Halloween, and this market is scary good. I've only got one kid left that still trick-or-treats, and these guys that sold fat cattle last week feel like their candy sack is full. And the feeder guys that had cattle for sale in most of your auction markets on Monday felt the same way. Guys that were along the board felt the same way. But just really a popping market here. You look at the board on Monday, December live cattle futures contract was up 257 on Monday to end the day at 123.40. October spot live cattle contract up 420 at 119.57. January feeder cattle up $1.40 after being up a whole lot more than that earlier in the day, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's not down here on Tuesday after being up over $3 there at some points there on Monday early, and then just ending up $1.40, but still very positive, and ended the day on Monday at 157.35. Look at your weighted average on last week's wild fat cattle trade. Ended up with 110,400 head in the 5-area feeding region. Your weighted average price on live steers was $116.98, with that big mixture from cattle bringing from all the way from 113 or 14 up to 119 and a half. I thought that weighted average might be closer to 118, but we'll live with 116.98, up $6.11. You look back to a year ago, and the market last week was almost $13 better than the same week a year ago. Your dress steers, and didn't have a whole lot of dress trade. It was a lot lighter because your live trade was just so wild, but the dress trade on live steer or dress steers ended up with a weighted average of 181.54, and that was only up 662, and maybe that's why everybody sold them live. But talking to some guys around early in the week, talking about the wild market, and everybody you just don't see it like that. You don't see them trading at different levels and just, you know, every 15, 20, 30 minutes going up another 50 cents or $1 on a big wide spread that was, you know, $6 or $7 wide there. But a lot of things were going on. You had a big Midwestern feeder that feeds up in that Dakota, Iowa area up there, and was tendering cattle all last week. Your longest longs scared them to death. Nobody wanted any real live cattle delivered to them. They were paying a penalty, and he was reclaiming those cattle back and getting to put a little bit of the penalty in his pocket. And he had a lot of short positions. He finally started getting out of those positions, just trading the paper there as he started selling cattle. And when it did, it helped shoot that market up big, and everything just kind of dominoed like that. Also early here on Monday, you saw the funds jump into the cattle. Well, they're not stupid. They knew that the board was way back of what the cash market was that happened after business hours on Friday, so they knew that the board had a lot of jumping to go, and their electronic trade button is just a little bit faster than everybody else's. So they were able to get in there and take advantage of that and help to roll that board up big on Monday morning. But you look at your real-time index on your feeder cattle markets, late Monday, setting at 154.58, up 76 cents. So I thought it could be up a little bit more, but we're getting into some markets now where we've sold a lot of those reputation strings of cattle. We're getting some odd bunches of calves in them. Some of them are weighing up into 7s. And you're just getting a lot of scattered sales here. You got a lot of farmers that are getting done with their harvest, and they're coming back, bringing some calves to town. Some of those are unweaned. We're starting to see another thrash of unweaned calves here. And those farmers have been busy harvesting, especially when you get up into the Midwest. If they're just now getting done now, then they're probably going to be another month or 45 days before they bring their weaned calves to town. That's why you see a big glut of good calves come to town again real late in the year, or maybe even early next year, depending on what their tax situation is. But you look at some markets early in the week, Oklahoma City National Stockyards, 9,200 head, really good run for them. Feeders, $2 to $9 higher. Somebody told you they would be a lot higher on Monday, sitting right here. Your steer calves, $7 to $12 higher. Your lighter heifer calves, peewees weighing under 5, are $6 to $9 higher. But your heavier heifer calves, which that's the last thing to see any benefit, is a big heifer calf, but they were steady to $3 higher. Talking to one of my order buying friends up in the Midwest and the Northern Plains, he said that like we talked in the last several weeks, the truck problems are really hitting home now. You've just got so many trucks that are picking up cattle that were already negotiated upon or sold on a video. You got a lot of guys moving cattle, a lot of guys retaining ownership, and they're moving their calves. And then these big sales, especially up in Nebraska and the Dakotas, that we know you get 5, 6, 8, 10,000 head of cattle at a sale barn. It takes a lot of trucks to get those cattle out of there. He said that if once we get this truck problem under control and get more trucks back out there, some of them truckers need to lay down and take a nap, and they're just slowing down a little bit. He said once these buyers can get as many trucks as they would really like to have, he thinks this calf market could be several dollars higher, because everybody you talk to in those sales up there would buy more cattle. They got more holes for calves if they had a way to get them where they're going. But you let some calves sit around a sale barn for 3 or 4 days, you've got a big problem on your hands by the time you get them where they're going. But Joplin Regional Stockyards had 5,000 head on Monday, $1 to $5 higher on all classes, with many more yearlings this week than they had last week. Look at some other markets. A market that you won't see advertised anywhere but here, because they're not covered by anybody else. Faith, South Dakota, Faith Livestock Commission, 3,700 head there. You look at their automated report on Cattle Market Central there, you see the steer calves, how much higher they are. Pretty easy to see. They're $7 to $12 higher. The most popular group by far was the 5 weights. Had over 1,100 head of 5 weight steers there, averaging 559, average 183.02. A lot of those lighter, just flat 500-pound calves were pushing into the 90s. I saw some as high as one group at 197. Another group at 194, but once you got them, they dropped just under 500 pounds, weighing 498, let's say, then it was easy to get them over $2 a pound. So it's coming, guys. Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri, had 3 loads of yearling steers there weighing 850 to 865 pounds, all black, bring 172 to 173 and a quarter. And the big quote for Monday on an individual quote there, McCook, Nebraska, Tri-State Livestock Auction had 2 loads of big 8-weight steers, average 870 pounds at 181 and a quarter. Wow, that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.